He then drew his knife to deal with the bats. "Die, you scoundrels. The young lady is fine now, I've dealt with the bats." Guang, who was behind, couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. After a while, they finally reached the place. It was this one. Guang went over and picked up a white rock to examine it. As soon as he picked it up, he swung his hand and threw it on the ground. Seeing the rock break into countless tiny pieces, he shook his head, "Not this one." He then turned his head and glanced inside. He advanced a few steps and stopped in front of another white rock. "This is it." Zhang Wang approached and asked in confusion, "Aren't they the same?" Guang picked up a piece of the rock and shook his head, "They're different. There are many types of salt rocks, it's been a long time, so I don't remember clearly, but they are definitely not the same. When subjected to a strong impact, this rock doesn't shatter into small fragments like the previous one but retains the shape of large pieces." Zhang Wang was startled. "So this is what they want? But what are they going to do with it?" Guang explained, "It's a very powerful weapon, unimaginable to ordinary people, like the special bomb we saw in Shijiazhuang." Sung Ryong picked up a rock from behind, questioning with suspicion, "How do you know?" "Salt is a special ingredient for special bombs, and this is the first time I've heard of it," Guang calmly replied. "I learned it through eavesdropping." Sung Ryong frowned. "Eavesdropping? That makes it even more unclear. If you say this is used to make a special bomb that's never been known before, then the materials for making it must be high-level secret information. That means your position in the martial arts world is not ordinary." Zhang Wang asked in confusion, "Guang, isn't explosives made from sulfur, matchweed, and a few other materials? Can this really be used to make explosives?" Guang sighed, "According to what I know, it shouldn't be possible to make it anymore, but it seems we were wrong. The fact that someone is looking for it means there is still someone who can create special bombs from it." Sung Ryong asked again, "You used, just now? I'm really curious, who exactly is that person in the martial arts world?" Guang frowned and stared at him without answering. At that moment, the cave trembled violently. The group of doubters turned their heads and looked outside. What was that sound? "What is that?" Quickly, they could see countless bombs rolling in from outside. Guang's senses suddenly became sharp again. There were 20 people outside the cave. The cave was 5 meters deep, with a distance of 4 meters to the ceiling. The distance to Zhang Wang was 6 steps, and to elderly Sam was 5 steps. To Moke it was 6 steps, and to Zhang Ryan it was 9 steps. Why was that? Why did my senses, which were previously dull, suddenly become extraordinarily sharp? Everyone will die. Thinking this, he drew his gumado and rushed forward, retreating into the cave. Zhang Wang looked back at him in confusion. "Guang, what's wrong with the guard?" Guang did not say much and quickly pushed him back. Sung Ryong, although not understanding what was happening, was extremely tense and stood in front of Zhang Ryan. Guang with gumado stood in front, blocking the way for the people. The special bomb from outside quickly rolled in. Guang turned to look at the people behind. They were all quickly turning around and running into the cave. Seeing they had retreated, he finally closed his eyes contentedly. Soon, a thunderous explosion echoed. The explosion was so powerful that it shook half the mountain. The people outside, including Nung Si Jiol, stood far away and were also terrified by the sight. Dam Myung and the beggar group, who were on the opposite mountain, were also stunned and amazed by the sight. "Elder, what is happening?" The beggar next to him replied, "It's the special bomb explosion." Dam Myung's eyes widened. "Special bomb? No, how could a special bomb cause such a huge impact?" Without giving them much time to think, the Bull Myung Gwi had launched a surprise attack from behind. They were from the Dark Faction, the Bull Myung Gwi. How did they know this place? This was clearly an ambush site we had set up. The martial artists and experts brought here were no match for them. The 2 elders of the beggar group did not hesitate and charged forward to block the Bull Myung Gwi. The elder beside Dam Myung shouted, "You too. Hurry and get out of here. There's no time, all the Dark Faction experts are here now." They were engrossed in fighting the Bull Myung Gwi in front, unaware that the Dark Moon assassins had approached from behind. They quietly and slowly moved closer. Then they struck, killing the 2 elders before they could react. The remaining elder of the beggar group couldn't hold back anymore. He grabbed his blade and charged. "You bastards, I'll fight you." But he was merely putting on a show and was quickly slain by the Dark Moon assassins. Dam Myung was horrified to see the enemies charging towards him. He had no other choice. With his cat-like martial arts skills, he couldn't fight them off. He helplessly lowered his head, raising his sword, waiting for the enemy to strike. But just at that moment, Myung-ho appeared to help him block the opponent. The Dark Faction assassin was startled to see Myung-ho. Myung-ho grabbed his hand and then kicked him. The kick sent the opponent flying, and Myung-ho leapt up, throwing a hidden weapon. Although it seemed the opponent would be dealt with by Myung-ho's hidden weapon, another Dark Moon assassin came to help him block it. Myung-ho landed beside Dam Myung and reminded him, "Get up now, you have to leave to survive." He stared intently at the assassins in front of him. After a moment, he turned his head towards the mountain peak where Guang and his group were. Inside the cave, the air was filled with dust and debris. Jang Won woke up from his painful unconsciousness. As soon as he regained consciousness, he heard Guang's voice beside him, "You're awake now?" Seeing Guang shielding him from the falling debris, he jolted upright. "Guang, the protector." Jang Won was startled by Guang's words. "An explosion? Then what about Elderly Sam?" Elderly Sam, hiding behind a rock, immediately raised his hand. "I'm here." Jang Won approached and asked, "Elderly Sam, are you alright?" Elderly Sam sighed, "My leg hurts a bit, but it's fine." Jang Won was shocked. "Wait, what about Jang Ryan?" Guang reassured him, "She should be safe." When the explosives went off, I saw Moke protecting the young lady and leading her away. Jang Won sighed with relief. "Thank you, Guang, for saving me and the elder. But we're trapped here now." Guang drew the demonic sword. "That remains to be seen." Jang Won stared at him, thinking, what is Guang planning to do? Is he going to use the sword's power? That would be too risky. If the force is too strong, it could break the stone walls, causing cracks and immediate collapse. This place is cramped, so the damage could be severe, and the entrance is quite far from here. Guang ignored his thoughts, reached out to feel the stone wall, and then closed his eyes to sense it. After a moment, he swung his sword and struck the wall. Jang Won was alarmed. "Guang, that's very dangerous." Guang continued to swing his sword. He kept attacking the wall relentlessly, strike after strike. Jang Won looked on from behind, his face full of confusion. "What's going on?" Elderly Sam spoke up. "Perhaps Guang is cutting through it." "Jang Won, you don't understand? How can one cut something that's not flesh?" Elderly Sam explained, "Young master, have you ever heard of how butchers cut beef?" One day, the Duke of Wei saw a butcher cutting beef and praised the butcher's knife. However, the butcher said that technique was much more important than the knife itself, as his knife did not become dull because he knew exactly where the bones were. Jang Won is still extremely confused, but that's animal meat and this is stone. Moreover, it's very dark there, so you can't see ahead, right? Elderly Sam added, "Stone can be cut too, and Guang, the bodyguard, can see it. It's just that he doesn't see with his eyes." Guang was chopping and thinking. The stones kept falling down, 1 hand's breadth, 2 hands' breadths, more and more, with the whole being 3 characters in the direction of the universe, a direction of Earth in the 8 trigrams. "My senses are telling me everything around. I perceive everything, the weakest part of the ground, the sounds coming from the piled stone walls, the distance to the stone walls, the vibrations, everything is conveyed to me." After chopping for a while, he took the gumado off his back. The earth and stones he had chopped out were quickly thrown inside. The 2 Jang Won were still standing there, dumbfounded, observing everything. After a moment, Guang glanced at them and instructed, "There might be enemies outside, so you should stay here, young master." Jang Won questioned, "Stay here?" Guang didn't explain much and swung his sword again. A door leading outside immediately appeared on the rock face before them. The 2 Jang Won were left stunned, unable to describe their shock. Guang paid no attention to them and quickly jumped out. Meanwhile, Myung-ho and Dam Myung were running for their lives. Dam Myung, while running, fearfully exclaimed, "They're catching up." Myung-ho quickly jumped over his back. Then he threw a few hidden weapons. The assassins chasing them immediately fell to the hidden weapons and died. The 2 continued running without stopping. After a few more steps, more assassins arrived. Myung-ho frowned. Even the Tiger Squad is here. The Tiger Squad members, fierce as wolves and tigers, quickly charged at them. Myung-ho immediately used his energy to make the leaves on the ground fly up. The attacking group, unable to react in time, was covered by the leaves, which limited their visibility. Myung-ho took advantage of this and rushed in to strangle and deal with each one individually. After dealing with several of them, he jumped onto a tree. Not far away, there were still some others lying in ambush behind the tree. Myung-ho frowned and stared at them. Then he quickly threw out a few hidden weapons. He threw them with force straight towards where the Tiger Squad was hiding. The hidden weapons pierced through the tree and struck down 3 of the distant ambushers. Dam Myung was astonished. Hitting 3 people with one shot is truly excellent. Myung-ho landed next to him again. Are you Dam Myung? I will block them. You move down the mountain and report the situation here, Dam Myung said solemnly. I will fight too. Myung-ho shouted, are you crazy? Do you want to die? You can't even take on one of them. Dam Myung sighed at his disdainful tone. I'm sorry. I'll signal if I'm lucky enough to survive. Beggar will come to help. Myung-ho hid behind a rock, observing the situation ahead. 3 on the left, 4 on the right. Now is the time to run. After saying that, he leapt up to block the enemies, creating an opportunity for Dam Myung to escape. But contrary to his expectations, another person jumped out to chase Dam Myung. Myung-ho was horrified. No, I missed one. The other person refused to stop the iron hook from striking Dam Myung. Seeing the iron hook about to hit Dam Myung, he thought he was surely dead. At that moment, a flash of sword light cut through the iron hook in 2. Guang had arrived in time to save him. Keep going. I will clear them out. The person retracted the chain, feeling intense fear. My chains are made from the strongest ore metal. Is there anyone in the martial world who can cut through my chains? Myung-ho couldn't help but smile when he saw Guang arriving. He quickly repelled the enemies. Then he used incredible speed to return to Guang's side. It's not that I doubt the leader, but he suddenly stopped and stared at Guang. At this moment, Guang was standing there with his eyes closed, dazed. He was extremely puzzled. His senses had recovered significantly, with 3 sword-wielding enemies and 1 with a knife. There was also 1 with a spear and another with a heavy iron club. Was it the dense killing intent that stimulated his senses? The killing intent made my senses so sharp, it felt like they were about to explode. The bull Myung Gwi on the opposite side had now recognized Guang. It was him, the guard of the Zhang family. Didn't they say they'd bury him first? How is he still alive? Did the special bomb not explode? No, there was a huge explosion. If there was a problem, it wouldn't have detonated. Guang instructed Myung-ho, I left a signal on the way here. Follow it, and you'll meet Zhang Wang. Go there and wait for further orders. Myung-ho nodded. Yes, then I'll go ahead. After saying that, he immediately took off. Guang stared coldly at the people before him. I won't waste much time with you. In just a moment, I will kill all of you. Hearing this, the people couldn't help but tremble. They didn't dare underestimate the opponent and rushed in to gang up on him. Guang, undaunted, drew his sword and charged directly. As he charged, one of the enemies was dealt with by Guang. His long sword swung up but was pierced through the chest by Guang's demonic sword. Guang then turned and withdrew his sword. He was about to continue charging when 2 sword energies struck from behind. He quickly turned and used the enemy's body to block the attacks. The opponent's weapons pierced through the body, causing fresh blood to splatter on his face. Guang seemed to be invigorated by the fresh blood. He immediately dodged and counterattacked with his sword. The young man hadn't understood what was happening before the demonic sword struck his head. Another person was slain by Guang. Not far away, the one with the iron chain seized the opportunity to strike with the chain. Guang looked up, staring intently at the incoming iron chain. The speed of the iron chain was fast, but compared to Guang, it was insignificant. The chain was caught by him before it reached his body. He then swung his sword again, severing the iron chain. He gripped the sharp end of the iron chain tightly. Then, he swung his arm and threw it to the side. An assassin not far away was immediately struck in the neck by the sharp end and died on the spot. Guang continued to swing the remaining piece of chain in his hand. Again, he swung his arm and threw it in the opposite direction. The remaining man stood there, dazed, unable to understand what was happening, when the iron chain hit him in the chest. Soon, only the lead archer holding the chain was left alive. He was drenched in cold sweat, his face tense, exclaiming, "How could anyone attack like that? You're neither a righteous person nor a villain, using corpses as shields? Who fights like that?" At this point, he suddenly fell silent. Those eyes were not human eyes. Guang swung his sword and charged at him, saying, "You're right. I'm neither a villain nor a righteous person. I'm simply a warrior." Before dying, he still couldn't believe it. "Since when? You're not human, you're a monster." Having finished everything, Guang remained silent and bowed his head. After a moment, he suddenly exclaimed, "Why haven't you left yet?" Manhwa immediately jumped down from the tree, apologizing. Guang asked again, "How do you feel witnessing this? Still feeling uneasy?" Manhwa explained, "No, that's not it. There's been no misunderstanding, it's just me." Guang interrupted, "Manhwa, is this the integration of man and sword?" "I hope not, if feeling comfortable seeing blood is the integration of man and sword. Then what am I supposed to do?" Manhwa fell silent, not knowing what to say. The two of them stood there in silence, staring at each other. Changing scenes, Jungryong finally woke up from his coma. She remembered the terrible situation back then. Unable to control herself, she screamed out in fear. When Jungryong saw her wake up, he sighed in relief, "Miss, you're awake now." Jungryong heard his voice and calmed down. At that moment, Jungryong was using his body to block the falling debris for her. "The Guang guards have helped us a lot. Most of the explosion has been stopped." Jungryong was amazed upon hearing this. After a while, Jungryong managed to help Jungryong out from the rubble. He was so happy when Jungryong helped bandage his wounds, saying, "Miss, see, my body is not severely injured, so you don't need to worry." Jungryong lowered her head sadly and did not respond. After a while, Jungryong stood up and touched the rock wall, saying, "We still need to get out of here." Jungryong was confused by his sudden action and asked, "What are you doing, sir?" Jungryong explained, "I'm assessing the situation. I think I might be able to break through the weakest part of the wall." Jungryong realized, that's right, he is a monk. After a while, Jungryong sat down next to Jungryong again. Jungryong asked with suspicion, "Have you found a solution?" Jungryong nodded, "I found one, but it's difficult. We could break through with force, but it's too dangerous. Moreover, I can't see how the rocks are stacked, not to mention that we are trapped between rock walls." The two fell into silence, and the atmosphere in the cave became extremely awkward. After a while, Jungryong suddenly asked, "Miss, there is something I want to talk about. Are you in love with Guang, the guard?" Jungryong was startled by this question. Jungryong continued, "Now I'm truly sure, not just guessing anymore. The way you look at him is different from how you look at me." Jungryong worriedly said, "Sir, about that." Jungryong smiled and interrupted, "Please don't misunderstand, I'm just curious, that's all. And I have something to say about Guang. He is different from me." Jungryong looked at him in confusion and asked, "How so?" Jungryong explained, "If you look at the way he speaks, acts, and the aura he emits, you can see that he has a dark past. Do you know what that means? It means he might leave you at any time. In contrast, I have no thoughts of leaving, since I have no special place to return to. I can stay here for a long time. Moreover, although I have also faced life and death, my past is not as dark as his. What I mean is that I am willing to give my sincere love to someone." After saying this, he lowered his head and glanced at Jungryong. Jungryong sighed, "Thank you, sir, for saying these words to me, but I hope you will refrain from making comments that could be misunderstood. Did you help the Jang family out of duty or because you want to gain my affection?" Jungryong quickly replied, "Of course, it is out of duty." Jungryong nodded, "Yes, it is out of duty, therefore, you shouldn't perform actions to help the Jang family just to win my affection. I heard that Moke from the Seven Wanderers is a lecher. But when we met, I realized that the hero has a genuine appearance and is a chivalrous hero, so I hope the hero will not mention this matter again, because Moke liking me is not the truth." Jungryong immediately sat up and grabbed her hand tightly, saying that he was sincere. "I am speaking honestly, if there was any deceit in my heart, I would have left the Jiang family the day Shijia Zhuang collapsed. My original intention was for the greater good, but now it is for both. Therefore, I hope the death messenger will give me a chance." Zhang Ryan stared at him in a daze. After a moment, she suddenly sat up, and Sung Ryong thought she was throwing herself into his arms, causing his face to redden. But soon he realized that it was just his imagination. Zhang Ryan ran behind him and reminded him to move aside for a moment because she heard something coming from this direction. The two of them quickly heard Zhang Weng's voice. "Zhang Ryan, are you okay?" Zhang Ryan excitedly replied, "Elder brother, are you alright?" Zhang Weng exhaled from the other side of the cliff. "Oh, finally I heard my sister's voice. How fortunate. Moke, are you alright too?" Zhang Ryan nodded. "Yes, Moke protected me. How is the situation over there?" "What about Guangwei the bodyguard?" Zhang Weng explained that thanks to Guangwei the bodyguard, we are all safe. He has broken through the wall to check the situation. Sung Ryong was startled. Broken through the wall? At that moment, the cliff wall shook violently. Sung Ryong quickly ran over to shield Zhang Ryan with his body and said, "Miss, please bend down." Soon, the earth from the cliff wall began to fall. A tunnel from the outside appeared. The people outside saw Sung Ryong and were excited. "Haha, it seems like they are still alive. They are still alive, haha. We have cleared the way, please follow us. The people digging the tunnel are from the beggar group." Sung Ryong and Zhang Ryan quickly crawled through the gap. "Be careful, we will ensure your safety." Before they could finish speaking, they were suddenly ambushed by the enemy from behind. The attackers were some of the remaining members of Bull Myong GWI. They looked at Sung Ryong and smiled. "Indeed, as long as we stay still, they will come to us, haha. Is that Moke? He doesn't look strong at all and he's so young. I heard that among the 7 wanderers, Moke is the youngest, with a handsome face and carrying Danwaldo on his back, who struck first. Don't underestimate the enemy, everyone attacked together. You all know we don't have much time and our opponent is very strong." Zhang Ryan anxiously asked, "What now?" Sung Ryong reassured her, "Please don't worry too much, miss." Zhang Ryan reminded him that the enemy is numerous and very strong. Sung Ryong confidently replied, "I know, but when I say don't worry, I mean it. Miss, you may find it hard to believe, but I have never lost in battles like this." Saying this, he drew out his 2 Danwaldo. Seeing his cold demeanor, everyone began to get tense. Sung Ryong stared at them thoughtfully and decided to attack first to seize the initiative. After planning his strategy, he resolutely leapt forward as the vanguard. Meanwhile, Myung-ho was fiercely battling the tiger squad of the Peng family. He continuously used ropes to pull them in. Not far away, Guangwei was also fighting fiercely. The two of them worked extremely well together, and the tiger squad posed no obstacle for them. Wherever Guangwei went, Peng family members fell like straw. Myung-ho fought while instructing the beggar group, "Hurry down the mountain and inform them of the situation here." One member of the Dark Moon Assassins was about to chase them but was stopped by a teammate. "Wait a moment. Temporarily avoid monitoring the situation." The two of them immediately lost interest in fighting and quickly fled. The tiger squad quickly gathered here in large numbers, surrounding Guangwei and his companion. Myung-ho jumped back to Guangwei's side and said, "Chief, go save the young lady first, leave this place to me." Guangwei frowned and stared ahead, then charged straight into the enemy's formation. Seeing this, Myung-ho had a look of helplessness on his face. The chief couldn't just leave like this, did he really need to charge right into them? Guangwei completely ignored the people blocking his way. He pressed forward, cutting down anyone who tried to stop him. Seeing his bravery, the people switched to a strategy of overwhelming him with numbers. They all jumped on Guangwei, layer after layer, trying to use their numbers to hold him back. Soon, Guangwei was buried under a pile of people, forming a small mound. But even so, they could not stop Guangwei. He quickly stood up, throwing off everyone once again and continued charging forward. Seeing this, Myung-ho sighed in relief, realizing his worry was unnecessary. After a moment of reflection, his eyes sharpened. Without hesitation, he charged into the fray. Back at Sung Ryong's location, as soon as he moved, the 4 of Bull Myong-gui also sprang into action. One of them took the lead, directly intercepting Sung Ryong's attack. When his broad sword clashed with Sung Ryong's Danwaldo, his eyes widened. Was he being pushed back by this power? As he thought, Sung Ryong quickly pushed him back. Then he swung his two swords to the left and right. The remaining 4 Bull Myong Gui, who had just arrived, were immediately blocked by him. The 5 of them then landed and surrounded Sung Ryong on the ground. The leader from earlier threw his weapon at Sung Ryong again. Sung Ryong reacted extremely quickly, leaning back to avoid it. The opponent's weapon flew out like a boomerang and then returned. This time, Sung Ryong did not dodge but swung his sword to block it. The 2 weapons were then knocked back into the assassin's hands. The remaining men also returned to stand behind him. Sung Ryong frowned and stared at them. This was troublesome. If time dragged on, not only he but also Miss Jang Ryan would be in danger. I will kill him first. With this thought, he charged forward again towards the opponent. The 5 Bull Myong Gui had now completely coordinated their attack. The remaining 4 took on the role of blocking Sung Ryong. The one with the boomerang took on the role of assassination. Taking advantage of Sung Ryong's momentary lapse, he immediately threw his weapon at him. Sung Ryong remained unfazed and plunged his dagger into the ground. He then spun around with force. Soon, the earth and rocks around him were thrown into the air, forming a vortex around him. The boomerang that attacked could no longer hit him and was swept away by the vortex. He knocked away our weapons. Sung Ryong was inside the vortex, making it impossible for them to predict his actions. He suddenly burst out of the vortex, his target being the one with the boomerang, so he ignored the other 4 and darted past them with incredible speed. His speed was so fast that in the blink of an eye, he appeared beside the opponent. The blade was stained with blood. That person was beheaded right then and there. The remaining 4, seeing their teammate killed, were horrified. Sung Ryong wasn't without injury. His left arm from shoulder to hand was covered in bloodied wounds. Bull Myong Gwi and the others noticed this too, and I guessed that things weren't too bad. Sung Ryong patted his left hand, smiling, saying, "Ah, my left hand is injured, and now it can't move." After a moment, he stopped smiling and stared intently at the opponent. The killing intent grew stronger. To conserve his energy, he had to kill at least 2 of them this time. Only then would he have a chance to survive and escape this place. Jang Ryan hid in the cave, extremely worried. This situation was not good, and she needed to find a way to help the hero. They weren't paying attention to her. She had to find someone to help. No matter how many of the evil faction there were, they couldn't kill all the nearby beggar sect experts. If she could find them, they would definitely help Moke. Sung Ryong also realized that Jang Ryan wanted to escape. He stared at the Bull Myong Gwi in front of him, smiling, trying to buy time to help her escape. "What are you guys doing? Are you scared just because one person died? I'm bored, so come here quickly. If not, you can run away. I won't chase you." HMPH, what a bunch of idiots. One of them immediately charged into attack. Sung Ryong raised his blade to block. He could easily block one person, but soon, several others began their combined assault. Sung Ryong quickly fell into a disadvantage, being pushed back continuously. An injured arm reduced his strength significantly, making it hard for him to evade. To buy time for Jang Ryan, he could only endure. After a while, he exhaled, thinking that the young lady should have gotten far by now. But before he could be happy, one of the Bull Myong Gwi said, "I know what you're thinking. Even if you buy time, that woman will die." Sung Ryong was shocked upon hearing this. He immediately swung his blade, driving back 3 of the Bull Myong Gwi. At this moment, he realized one of them had disappeared. He anxiously shouted behind him, "Jang Ryan, be careful." Jang Ryan was rushing down the mountain as fast as she could. "Boss, is anyone there? Boss." Suddenly, a Bull Myong Gwi appeared from behind, blocking her path. "Hoo, a beauty." Jang Ryan angrily shouted, "So it's a filthy scoundrel." The person, enraged by her words, tried to slap her. Jang Ryan took advantage of his momentary lapse and threw hidden weapons. The young man who underestimated others ended up with a hidden weapon lodged in one of his eyes. He clutched his eye in pain and screamed, "I'll tear you apart right away, you wretched creature." Jang Ryan, not showing any signs of weakness, drew out her longsword and challenged him. The young man aimed his sword at her head, bringing it down with force. It was assumed that Zhang Ryan would be dealt with by this strike, but at that moment, the young man's sword arm was cut down. He himself couldn't believe it as he looked at his sword-wielding arm hanging in midair. After a moment, he began to feel the pain, collapsing to the ground and screaming. Guang approached and grabbed his head, asking, "Who did you say you would tear apart? Is this how it's done?" Guang placed his sword on his neck, his face expressionless and cold as ice. Immediately after, a shrill scream rang out. Guang had managed to arrive in time to save Zhang Ryan's life. Shifting the scene to the Peng family, Peng In-ho, upon returning, went to see the head of the Peng family and said, "Master, the Grand Elder has arrived." Peng In-ho entered and bowed respectfully, saying, "How is your health, Master?" The head of the Peng family, pulling back the curtain, shouted, "Peng In-ho, you wretch! What's going on here?" Peng In-ho, pretending to be confused, asked, "What are you talking about, Master?" The old man yelled, "I'll ask again, what exactly happened?" Peng In-ho shook his head, "I really don't understand what you're saying. Who has the Master heard this from?" The old man, unable to control himself, punched the pillar of the house and said, "Stop the nonsense. Are you saying I should reveal what I know so you can twist my words? I may be an old man bedridden now, but I've lived longer than you." Peng In-ho glanced at the medicine and letters on the table, deep in thought. Before coming here, the doctor had informed him that the items were sent by Beggar, that damn beggar. It turns out they had hidden a letter inside the medicine, and what kind of content could it possibly contain? After thinking for a moment, he lowered his head and explained that the master was seriously misunderstanding. "Everything I do is for the century-old legacy of the Peng family." The old man questioned, "The century-old legacy of the Peng family, is it?" Peng In-ho nodded, "Yes, it is Un Jerem. Our Peng family has the opportunity to obtain a special bomb similar to the one that once destroyed Qianying Dan, which Un Jerem used." The old man's face grew serious. "So you used Shijia to bury the Zhang family?" Peng In-ho explained that things did not happen that way. "I thought I would adequately compensate them." The old man continued to question, "What about the dirty sects? Why did you involve them in this matter?" Peng In-ho replied nonchalantly that they are just sacrificial pawns. "We must obtain Water Cloud Mountain without tarnishing the Peng family's reputation. After the task is complete, we will eliminate them all." The old man, enraged, laughed, "Ha ha. The older you get, the dirtier your methods become, huh? From the moment you used dark sects, the Peng family has already been disgraced by you. Isn't it killing people if you don't get your hands dirty?" Peng In-ho vehemently countered, "Master, you need to broaden your perspective. Un Jerem are those who once sought to overthrow the world. If it weren't us, but someone else capable of creating Pak Gong, the world would have turned into hell. Such dangerous weapons must be held by forces with noble status and righteousness. I can't think of any other solution than the Peng family." The old man continued questioning, "So according to you, sacrificing people of the Peng family is also for the greater good?" Peng In-ho replied indifferently that for such a great cause, sacrifice is unavoidable. The old man pointed directly at him and yelled, "Sacrifice? You say sacrifice is unavoidable? You say it's for the Peng family and yet you kill people of the Peng family? Even a devil would not order such a thing. How is your so-called righteousness different from those dirty dark sects? For the Peng family and for righteousness? You'd be better off admitting it's for your own ambition. Tell me, how can you deceive me for your own ambition?" Peng In-ho shouted, "Master, it is not my ambition. This is Hebei's number one family, the number one clan, but how long will the name Hebei have to be placed in front? We are always being used. I mean, our Peng family is always used by other forces to expand. Master, what happened 12 years ago when two great masters of the Peng family entered Qianying Dan? The corpses were returned and were not even intact. The Peng family lost its young masters, and the Five Taiga's unique swordsmanship is also at risk of being lost." The old man's anger had not subsided. "Even so, do you see your actions as justifiable? If you hate the martial arts sect so much, why do you still try to revive something the martial arts sect has abandoned? You must understand that it's no different from poison." Peng In-ho explained that if the martial arts sect uses us, then we can use them in return. For a great cause, there must be strength. Only with strength can we overturn the martial arts sect or anything else." The old man shouted loudly, "Stop talking nonsense. Strength? What good is strength? Do you know how many clans have been destroyed because of their strength?" As he spoke, his body suddenly halted. He painfully clutched his head. "Elder? No, Peng In Ho. You've reached this age, how can you not know that when one thing appears, another will disappear? You want our Peng family to become the Peng family of the world, not just Hebei. But have you ever thought that the martial arts sect would let us go? If we want to dominate the world, we must face a force we cannot defeat, which is defying heaven itself." Peng In Ho remained resolute. "If so, then we only need to break that sky first. If the heavens obstruct us, we will make the heavens collapse. If the earth hinders us, we will make the earth split. We are the Peng family, master. With our martial strength combined with the power of Pak Gung, no one can defeat us." The old man, after hearing Peng In Ho, suddenly had his internal energy explode violently. "Come on, if you truly think so, I will personally stop you. It is me, and no one else. I will stop you with the martial arts of the Peng family. You absolutely cannot." Peng In Ho closed his eyes, sighed, and had no intention of resisting. He just stood there waiting for the old man to attack. But after a long time, when there was still no movement, he slowly opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the old man lying on the ground, clutching his chest and writhing in extreme pain. Peng In Ho quickly sat down to examine his condition. This was internal fire poisoning, a dangerous symptom occurring when the blood and energy are disordered and internal power is scattered. "The medicine is over there. Master, please take the medicine quickly." But no matter how much he persuaded, the old man stubbornly refused to drink. "You need to take the medicine, master. Why don't you understand the heart of a humble servant? I did everything just for the glory of the Peng family." After hesitating for a moment, he reached out his hand. The old man's nose and mouth were quickly covered by him. "Rest in peace. Master, it is time for you to rest. Leave everything else to me. Just sleep peacefully." After a while, the old man had completely passed away, lying motionless on the ground. Peng In Ho looked at him, sighed, and thought about sacrificing the small for the big, upholding righteousness over personal feelings. These were the words the master had spoken in his lifetime. The intention of the master, Peng In Ho would inherit. Shifting the scene to Sung Ryong, he was still engaged in a fierce battle with 3 Bull Miang Gwi. He had no intention of lingering with them, fighting while turning his head towards Zhang Ryan and attempting to leave. But how could the Bull Miang Gwi give him a chance to leave? Sung Ryong, distracted by his escape, was immediately wounded again by the spear-wielding enemy. With no other options, he had to stop and turn around to defend himself against them. The two sides fell into another stalemate. Although Sung Ryong was burning with anxiety to save Zhang Ryan, he was still powerless. Suddenly, the 3 Bull Miang Gwi stared wide-eyed at something behind Sung Ryong. Seeing Guang slowly approaching, they could hardly believe it and exclaimed, "What? How is he here? Has he already killed the 5 tigers demon?" Guang approached Sung Ryong and drew his demonic sword. "Are you alright?" Sung Ryong smiled, "As you can see, I'm still fine." He slightly turned his head to glance behind him. Zhang Ryan, hiding behind a rock, waved and smiled at him. Seeing that she was unharmed, Sung Ryong finally breathed a sigh of relief. No longer concerned, he swung his blade and shouted, "Come here." Shifting the scene to the Peng family, shortly after Peng In Ho killed the master, the voice of Peng Ga-un rang out from outside, "Father, I am Peng Ga-un." Peng In Ho pondered for a moment, then shouted, "Come in, young master." Peng Ga-un, hearing Peng In Ho's voice, was filled with doubt. As he entered, his eyes widened in disbelief. He quickly ran to his father's side. "What happened to my father?" Peng In Ho sighed, "I also want to know who exactly brought this medicinal potion to the master. Just now, while talking to me, the person had a seizure, coughed up blood, and was possessed by a demon. Before I could react, they had already passed away. What I'm saying is, how could the master, in such a weakened state, possibly use internal energy? But how could things turn out this way, young master? Do you know who brought this strange medicinal potion to the master?" Peng Ga-un furrowed his brows, recalling everything. Recently, beggar had brought some elixirs, so I ordered that my father take them. Peng In Ho, feigning anger, shouted loudly, "Beggar? So it was them, who doesn't know that a weak and frail body can't handle such strong medicines? Beggar must have used some kind of poison." Peng Ga-un shook his head. "That's not possible. Beggar is known for their righteousness. How could they have poisoned my father?" Peng In Ho retorted, "They are also a power in the martial world. Recently, they've been obstructing everything and even trying to frame us. Young master, don't you find it strange? Why would they offer a healing potion while being hostile towards us? There must be some scheme behind this. Hasn't something like this happened before?" Peng Ga-un stood up, saying he needed to investigate this matter thoroughly, and called everyone to check on his father's condition. Peng In Ho advised, "Eldest son, this might actually be beggar's intention. When this issue spreads, how will it be rumored? They not only harm the master but also want to turn the eldest son into a cold-hearted person who poisons his father. We must be cold-hearted. We need to think coldly, eldest son. Peng family is currently engaged in a battle with beggar. Since the master has passed away, establishing a position for the eldest son is the most urgent matter now. Quickly convene a family meeting and investigate this drug, if it turns out to be a dangerous poison. Then say that Peng In Ho directly received it and handed it to the master." Peng Ga-un frowned. "Eldest elder, what are you saying?" Peng In Ho acted heroically, saying he would take all the blame for the eldest son, otherwise, there would be internal conflict within the clan. If this is beggar's goal, then the young master needs to escape their scheme. Hearing this, Peng Ga-un fell into deep thought. Peng In Ho continued to manipulate the situation. "Eldest son, first gather the Peng family members. We need to withdraw from the trap aimed at you and unify the clan." Peng Ga-un nodded. "All right, I will do that." Seeing that he was still somewhat hesitant, Peng In Ho shouted, "Eldest son, you must be resolute. You bear the responsibility of leading the Peng family. The clan must be placed on a solid foundation and guide everything. That is the master's wish." Peng Ga-un frowned. "Eldest elder, what are you saying?" Peng In Ho ignored him and bent down to help the old man with his eyes. "Master, please wait. I will make the Peng family the foremost prestigious family. It will definitely be so. The first sacrifice is the Jiang family." The scene shifts to Watercloud Mountain, where Sung Ryong suddenly stopped Guangwi from making a move. "Brother, step back, I will handle them." Guangwi hesitated but quickly stepped back, saying, "All right then." Sung Ryong laughed heartily, "Haha, there are times when you don't trouble me." On the opposite side, the spear wielder quickly charged forward upon seeing this. Sung Ryong tightly gripped his great sword and confidently stared at the opponent. The two sides quickly engaged in a fierce battle, with the two Bull Myong Gwi not rushing to intervene but allowing them to fight one-on-one. The spear swung continuously with tremendous force, relentlessly attacking. Sung Ryong dodged while parrying, then took advantage of an opening to leap and strike down towards the opponent's head. However, the Bull Myong Gwi reacted quickly and swung the spear to block the attack. He then directed the spear's tip towards Sung Ryong's severely injured left arm. Sung Ryong was horrified and immediately pulled back his great sword to block his left shoulder. Seeing the spear almost grazing his shoulder, and nearly losing his arm, Sung Ryong was deeply alarmed. The opponent was clearly targeting his shoulder. The Bull Myong Gwi did not give him much time to think and continued to attack with the spear. Sung Ryong dodged while thinking that maintaining distance was becoming disadvantageous. After a moment, he closed in on the opponent and decisively charged his body into the opponent's chest. The Bull Myong Gwi was immediately knocked backward. Sung Ryong took the opportunity to swing his sword with a powerful strike. Fortunately, the Bull Myong Gwi reacted quickly and ducked to avoid the attack. Otherwise, his head would have been severed. The other two Bull Myong Gwi glanced at each other, signaling their ally. As soon as the tree was cut down by Sung Ryong, they vanished and began their actions. Guangwi, who had been observing intently from the side, frowned. After a moment of distraction, the spear-wielding Bull Myong Gwi resumed fighting with renewed vigor. Sung Ryong did not confront him but retreated to avoid the attacks. The two remaining Bull Myong Gwi did not attack him but charged in another direction. They both drew their long swords with extremely fierce expressions. All they needed to do was kill the woman from the Jiang family. When Jiang Ryan saw them charging towards her, she was horrified and stared with wide, frightened eyes. Sung Ryong turned his head and glanced back thoughtfully. Just as I predicted, I will kill them. At that moment, Guangwi intervened to block them. His speed was so fast that the two Bull Miang Gwi couldn't react in time, and one of them was pierced through the head by the demonic sword. The other was killed by the Gumado. Seeing this from afar, Sung Ryong roared in anger. Guangwi, I told you to let me handle them. Guangwi sighed, apologizing. Is that enough? The remaining Bull Miang Gwi trembled uncontrollably at this scene. Sung Ryong turned around, brandishing his blade towards him. It seems you're the only one left. He had no other choice but to roar and charge forward with his spear. Sung Ryong threw the Danwaldo into the air. He then caught the opponent's spear with his hand. The other man was horrified, wondering where that came from. Sung Ryong tightened his grip on the spear and then leapt into the air. As he jumped, he released the spear. He then raised his hand to catch the Danwaldo. As soon as he grasped the great sword, he looked down at the opponent and yelled, stabbing downwards. The young man didn't have time to react and was pierced through the chest by the blade. All 10 Bull Miang Gwi were finally killed. Jiang Ryan, hiding in the distance, ran out and asked, "Are you alright, hero?" Sung Ryong laughed heartily. "Haha, of course I'm fine, it's nothing." Jiang Ryan was still very worried. Now that everything is over, let's go down the mountain to tend to our wounds. Guangwi, who was behind, suddenly spoke up, "No, it's just beginning." Jiang Ryan and the others were startled and turned their heads to see the direction Guangwi was looking. Soon, the sound of footsteps echoed. In front of them, a team of assassins appeared once again. Each of these people wore black robes, masks, and hoods that covered their entire bodies, only revealing their extremely fierce eyes. Guangwi immediately recognized them as the Black Evil Troop. Jiang Ryan, scared, asked, "What should we do?" Sung Ryong explained, "They are the Black Evil Troop, the elite force of Guimin. In terms of combat strength, they are even stronger than those Bull Miang Gwi. We might need to find a way to escape. Given the current situation, we might encounter even more dangerous things." Guangwi, standing behind, suddenly spoke up, "I will handle it, you all just stay there and watch. Let me see how many of them there are." Guangwi stepped forward, and the leader of the Black Evil Troop pointed and asked, "Are you Guangwi?" Guangwi nodded, "That's right." The man then asked, "Did you kill all the Bull Miang Gwi?" Guangwi disdainfully mocked, "Which Bull Miang Gwi? Those dead ones over there were Bull Miang Gwi? They were so weak that I didn't care much, but anyway, thanks for letting me know." The group was horrified upon hearing this. They immediately drew their swords, ready to fight at any moment. The leader pointed his blade straight at Guangwi and shouted, "You lunatic, I'll cut you up and feed you to the dogs." Sung Ryong, who was behind, said in panic, "What are you going to do, brother?" Guangwi calmly replied, "Just stand there and watch." Tan Lu stared wide-eyed, terrified, realizing that there were at least 70 of them. Even if I were completely uninjured, it would be hard to escape just by running away. I can't imagine what it would be like to fight them, but if Guangwi can fight desperately and kill 50 of them, I might be able to escape. Thinking about this, he immediately shook his head. "Seriously, at this moment, I'm still thinking about such absurd things." After a moment, Guangwi spoke again, 72 people is quite a lot, isn't it? 47 with swords, 25 with axes. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 4 breaths, 5 breaths, and countless other breaths." The other person couldn't help but shout, "What the hell are you mumbling about?" Guangwi coldly replied, "It's the time and the number of deaths since I drew my sword." After saying this, he leapt forward and initiated the attack. The other person, seeing this, did not show any fear and swung his axe at him. Guangwi charged forward, swinging his gumado and deflected the opponent's large axe. He then swung his demonic sword and finished him off. The other attackers who charged in were immediately cut down by his sword. He plunged into the middle of the battlefield, raising his gumado to block the enemy's attacks. He then swung his demonic sword and continued the killing. After killing several enemies, he suddenly jumped up. To the astonished and confused eyes of the remaining assassins, Gumado came crashing down with overwhelming power, causing more enemies to fall who couldn't withstand it. Some of the assassins from behind took the opportunity to charge and attempt a rear attack. Guangwi used a rope to wrap around Gumado. He then turned around and swung his demonic sword to kill the charging enemies. Next, he pulled the rope forcefully. Gumado was immediately thrown forward with his strength. The assassins in the front, who had not yet charged in, were already shredded by Gumado. After dealing with this group, Guangwi finally stopped. He pulled Gumado back to his side and stared intently at the black evil troop. The remaining assassins did not dare to advance. Each of them was extremely terrified, looking at Guangwi as if he were a monster. The two behind, Zhang Ryan, were also stunned and could hardly describe their amazement. "Am I dreaming, Mr. Moke?" Sung Ryong replied seriously, "No, miss, what you see is the truth." Zhang Ryan sighed, "I really don't know if we can win, but he is indeed very skilled and powerful." Sung Ryong shook his head, "I think it will be very difficult. Guangwi's martial arts far exceed my expectations. But since the enemy has already lost several men, they will be much more cautious now. The real battle is about to begin. The disparity in numbers won't be easily closed." After saying this, he couldn't help but clench his fists, feeling extremely uneasy. Why did he hide his true strength during the martial arts competition with me? The black evil troop in front had once again regained their composure, with one of them shouting to the back, "Surround him." They then immediately gathered in a multi-layered circle, encircling Guangwi within. Next, they all simultaneously swung their swords at him, with the first layer attacking from all directions and the layer behind leaping in to attack from above. Guangwi had no way to avoid the attacks coming from every direction, above, below, left, right. Everywhere was filled with sword blades. Sung Ryong, seeing this from behind, was horrified. The downward attack formation had completely cut off their escape route. It was truly too dangerous. Guangwi, surrounded in the midst, fearlessly swung his hand and threw Gumado up. The attackers coming from above were immediately knocked away by Gumado. However, the people below had already reached him. It seemed Guangwi would be pierced by a myriad of swords, but somehow, he used his incredible speed to plant his sword into the ground and use it as a springboard to leap into the air. All of the enemy's sword blades struck simultaneously against demonic sword. Taking advantage of this, Guangwi spun around and kicked each attacker once for ganging up on him. All the people surrounding him were kicked away, and the swords held by demonic sword were dropped from their hands. Guangwi then spun demonic sword around. All of the enemy's long swords were also caught up in his spin. Next, he swung his hand to return the swords to them. The young men who had just been kicked away and hadn't stabilized themselves were stabbed to death by their own swords. Seeing the enemy die like straw, Sung Ryong not only felt no joy but instead was terrified and shouted loudly, "Guangwi, be careful." Hearing this, Guangwi turned his head to look behind him. As soon as he turned, his eyes widened in shock. It was sword energy? The black evil troop behind him seized the opportunity to simultaneously charge forward and swing their swords. Sword energy filled the sky, immediately descending towards Guangwi. "You're exposed, die." Guangwi, without time to think much, immediately raised Gumado to block. The terrifying sword energy struck Gumado, causing Guangwi to stagger slightly, but it was quickly stopped. Guangwi then used his strength to swing Gumado up. All the sword energy was simultaneously knocked back, and the assassins who had used sword energy to attack him were shredded by their own sword energy. The combination of the formation and sword energy attacks could not do anything to Guangwi. Standing in the midst of the enemy's encirclement, Guangwi remained completely unharmed. The remaining people were sweating profusely, wondering if he had really managed to knock back the sword energy. Guangwi drove Gumado into the ground and roared, "There are still too many of you, come here, and I'll kill every last one." Saying that, he once again charged into the enemy's ranks to continue the slaughter. Wherever he went, the black evil troop was slaughtered there. They were completely routed, unable to stop Guangwi. The few leaders from afar were trembling in fear, wondering who he really was. A person next to them responded, "He is the martial arts protector of the Zhang family." "Damn it, who doesn't know that?" What I want to know is where he is actually from. Not only is his martial skill extraordinary, but his ability to knock back sword energy is also very remarkable. But what is even more terrifying is his complete control over the battlefield. Even if one's martial skills are supreme, dealing with such a large number of opponents will put them at a disadvantage. Even if he had eyes on the back of his head, stopping all the swords from every direction is nearly impossible. Yet he has done it, remaining unscathed despite being surrounded by dozens of top experts. But he is human, so he must be getting tired. Suddenly, he glanced nervously towards the place where Jang Ryan and the others were. Moke was desperately protecting the women of the Jang family. Capturing her could change the situation. Sung Ryong observed Guangwi's state with growing worry, realizing that things were going wrong. When fighting his opponents, Guangwi's gaze showed no sign of wavering, as if he were a beast freed from its reins. Even the feeling of breathing is gone. This fighting method demands extreme concentration and consumes a tremendous amount of stamina within a short moment. If it continues like this, it will be very dangerous. While he was deep in thought, he was startled and glanced to the side. There, several assassins had taken the opportunity to charge and attack them. Sung Ryong quickly turned around to shield Jang Ryan and block the assassins. His face was tense and angry as he cursed, "This is really damned." The assassins did not relent and quickly swung their blades again. Covered in injuries, Sung Ryong, despite his carelessness, managed to kill one assassin but was then struck in the left shoulder by another. He gritted his teeth and swung his weapon to decapitate his opponent. Jang Ryan, worried from behind, asked, "Are you okay, hero?" Sung Ryong smiled, "As long as I'm with you, miss, I'm always fine." Jang Ryan suggested calling for Guangwi for assistance, but Sung Ryong shook his head. He is surrounded by enemies. If we call now, the situation will be much worse. I will hold on as long as I can. The assassins quickly regrouped and swung their swords again. Sung Ryong resolutely refused to step back, bravely fighting back with his blade. The more he fought, the more injuries he sustained. It didn't take long before he could no longer endure and collapsed to the ground. Despite being in a perilous situation, he still bravely shouted to Jang Ryan, "I will hold them off, miss, please get down the mountain quickly." Jang Ryan drew her sword to shield him, saying, "No, I won't leave." Despite Sung Ryong's pleas, Jang Ryan gritted her teeth and resolutely stood in front of him. Guangwi, fighting in the distance, also sensed something was wrong. He immediately turned his head to look back. Seeing that Jang Ryan and her group were surrounded by several assassins, he was horrified. Without hesitation, he turned around and rushed back to offer help. But the Black Evil troop wouldn't let him have his way. They quickly formed a line, standing on each other's shoulders. In front of Guangwi, a wall of people immediately appeared, blocking his path. As he charged towards them, they all simultaneously swung their swords, unleashing their sword energy in an attack. Guangwi could do nothing else but stop and raise his gumado to block. The captain standing behind laughed coldly, thinking he wouldn't be crazy enough to charge straight in. But to their surprise, Guangwi really did raise his gumado to shield himself and then charged straight at the group. The young man was horrified, he was really crazy. As Guangwi got close, he swung his demonic sword. A group of people was instantly sliced through, their formation quickly shattering. He used his agile body technique to spin in the air, his gumado blocking all the opponent's sword energy. He quickly passed through the barrier. On the opposite side, 3 assassins had also swung their swords at Jang Ryan. Although Jang Ryan was too frightened to open his eyes, he still stood there with determination. Sung Ryong gritted his teeth, struggling to get up. Despite his efforts, he only managed to kill one person with his sword. But the remaining 2 had no time to strike. Even though Guangwi couldn't reach them in time, he had already thrown his demonic sword and gumado to deal with them. When Jang Ryan saw Guangwi return, he sighed in relief, his bodyguard was back. Guangwi approached to check, "Are you two alright?" Sung Ryong stared at him with a smile. "I will definitely repay this debt." Guangwi didn't care much and glanced behind. "I don't think you'll be able to repay it all." Sung Ryong raised his sword. "I have money saved up, so don't underestimate me." Guangwi sneered, "You'll have to see if it's enough." Sung Ryong looked at Guangwi thoughtfully again. breathing unevenly. When a person exceeds their limit, they breathe heavily, which means he has reached his physical limit. Naturally, he was exhausted after continuous battles with countless enemies. After thinking for a moment, he spoke, "I will take the young lady out of here. They're targeting her, so Guangwi, your duty is to provide support from behind. I know you can only give your all when fighting alone." Guangwi took off his cloak and handed it to him. "Your injured arm will be uncomfortable. Wrap this around it and take the young lady away quickly." The two took the smelly cloak from him, their faces showing clear signs of helplessness. Sung Ryong smiled at Jang Ryan. "Miss, please forgive my rudeness." Without waiting for Jang Ryan to react, he knocked her out and slung her over his shoulder. "Miss, please bear with it a little longer." Guangwi reminded from the front, "The Black Evil Troops experts haven't moved yet. Their target is definitely the two of you." Sung Ryong nodded, "I know. I will definitely survive to be by Jang Ryan's side for longer," Guangwi said, gripping his demonic sword tightly. "I have the same thought." Sung Ryong glanced at him and smiled. Without hesitation, he quickly turned and ran. Guangwi stayed behind, staring at the Black Evil troop members, supporting him. Although Guangwi was providing backup, a few Black Evil troop members still chased after Sung Ryong. He ran while continuously swinging his sword to kill the enemies. One person, taking advantage of his distraction with the two in front, leapt up to attack from behind. But before he could strike, Guangwi had already charged in and delivered a blow. Guangwi also had no desire for battle and was both attacking and covering the two behind him. Just as he finished dealing with one opponent, two more charged in from the side.